I'm glad you were able to watch all of that. Okay, now I want to give kind of a reflection on what we did so far, okay? So I kind of a list. So the first thing is we had a goal, right? The goal was we want to get the data from this web page because we want to clone this hopefully, but we need to extract this data. That was the first goal. And I was like, okay, how do you extract the data from a website without manually like writing it down? And we said that's web scraping technologies. So it was like, okay, you could do web scraping. What kind of web scraping, right? There are packages that you could use. If you just Google web scraping, you would come across beautiful soap. This is a very beautiful package. I really like this. It's pretty awesome, but it's a very low level, right? It's just doing little things, which would have been great in our site. But and then there's another one called Scrappy, which is also this is highly advanced. It's like a whole thing, right? It's really like it's the whole package. You can't even deploy it. That's how good it is. And we said we can't use, or it would be extremely hard to use either of these for describing here. Because, and the reason is because if you click on this, you see, you don't have the data. Like the browser requests the data, and if we go, yeah, let me go Airbnb here. We talked about how you don't actually get that. You know, if you go here, you don't get that HTML code, right? You just get these things. I don't even want to name this. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like a CSS and like stuff like that. Okay, but you get the point, right? You don't get the HTML. That means you can't actually like read the data. So we said, okay, we need to simulate like an actual user using the browser to interact with that. And we came across this technology, right? Selenium. So this is a browser automation tool, and it is used for testing, right? So instead of like going to your website and testing every single button and filling inbox and clicking submit and seeing what results, blah 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 blah, you can just write. You can write a Selenium program that basically goes to the website and does whatever a user might do, right? To kind of test, and it's faster and more efficient than a person, but it's slower and less efficient than actually scraping tools like Scrapy and Beautiful Soap. So we said, okay, great. Now we said, okay, how do you extract that, right? So we were able to, we said, how do you install that? And, we Selenium installation, right? We went here. There's this page called Getting Started. There's two things. The first one is just installing the package, right? You can use like a lot of stuff, like a lot of language, but we used Python. So we did basically just install Python like you would for any other, and then we get the driver, and it needs the driver because it's mimicking the person using the browser. That means it needs to actually talk to like Chrome or Firefox or whatever. That's why you need the browser. And see here, this is the Chrome drivers, right? We talked about how you should like go to your Chrome and check what version you have. I have this 1149 thing, and once you get that, then you can download the appropriate driver. And once you put that, we said we should put next to it. If you put next to it, then all you have to do is like, you don't even have to specify the location because we just find it because it's right next to it. But if it was in a different location, we talked about how you could like give a path, by creating a surface. So you create a surface and then you give that a path and then you give that surface to the Chrome on the WebDriver, right? So you kind of go around it a little bit. And yeah, and then you kind of give the main page you want to visit, like, I want to visit here. This kind of like the home page. We said you wait, and that's important because as we talked about the first time, right, Airbnb loads, you don't have anything in there. So if you say, hey, get the navigation system, there's no navigation system. It'll just give you zero. And we actually did that, right? So you need to wait until everything is ready, right? I just chose 10 minutes because 10 seconds because that's kind of like the thing that worked for me. You might try, different numbers. And then we said, okay, then we divided our task into 4 stages, right? The first stage was query one of these. Just try to query one of these, right? Get the icon and get the oh my god thing, the title. That was the first goal. And we did that, right, by actually like we realized if you we went to Selenium finders, right? It's like how do you actually get the specific elements in your web page? You can get it by class name, you can get it by ID, you can get it by selectors, you can get it by tag name, blah blah blah, and you have to like import this by thing. And we realized that we like, okay, we need to get a tag for this, and we have gotten the tag, right? For example, the title has this tag, right? But we had a problem where if you just say, hey, get this tag, it would get you all the titles, but right, which is kind of a cool, but you don't really like, you don't need the titles, you need the components. So going to the parent, right, going to here and getting the parent of the title and the icon. Now this is important. Getting the parent is important because you will need to click on it. That's why we kind of needed the parent. And then inside the parent, you can query. You can say, give me the icon inside this component, or give me that, this class name inside this component. And that, using that, we were able to scope our request so it doesn't return like this icon or something like that. And then we were able to successfully get like all the icons and all the titles. That was pretty cool. And then that was the first stage. We were done that. Now then we try to get the information from a card, right? We need to get all the information. We get that information, right? So after we did this, we created its own function to make it like nicer. Then we get the cards, right, by identifying basically the classes that we need, and then scoping, right? This All of these requests are scoped into this component, right? So when you search BNB, it does not search the whole page. It only searches inside the card. Let's call it div, right? And then we were able to basically output the data for all the cards, the 20 cards in here. And then once we had both things done, we combine them, right, by using this function. We Actually, you could just do this to get the stuff, but what we did was, we call this and we get all the navigation system, and then we did clicking. So basically what would happen is you click on this, you get this data, then you click on this, you get the data, you click on it, you get the data, you click on it, you get the data. And that worked, and that was pretty fun. So yeah, I think that was great. I think you liked it. Now this is a part of a bigger project that I'm working on. So if you go here, so this is like, you can go get a Nasser and then Airbnb, see Nasser or whatever. So this is kind of, I am working on this Airbnb clone. It's a big project, right? It's like 4 stages. And what we just did was the first stage. Whoa, that's huge, right? So it's a 4 stages. And the first stage we just did was create. So we did this. This is finished. The grain is finished. The next step is going to be database, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this data that we printed out here, and I'm going to put it in a MySQL database, right? So I'll kind of go through kind of the whole process of creating a MySQL, blah, 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 put all the data in the MySQL. That would be the second stage. The third stage would be a backend node application. I see, like, it might be a Node or like Django, one of them, hopefully Node, but I'm kind of excited about the other one too. So we're going to do the backend, and then finally we will do a front end. So it's kind of like a whole thing. So if you want to follow along, you can like, follow my Twitter on YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever. Yeah, that's it. I hope you find something useful. Bye-bye.